Wow, there was a serious delay there. I wonder what's going on. Maybe in lieu of yesterday's episode, they don't want us streaming today. All right, let me check the live streams. I just want to make sure they're going through. Did you ask me something? Did you ask me if I'm ready? That's something I was asking myself getting into this, and nope, I don't. These are very challenging topics. We're gonna freaking switch up from this elevated music. I tell you what, I'm calm. I'm good. Much better. Let's go. In fact, just before that, let's just not even mess around. Welcome to a muzzle chat. We'll get back into that. Why not? Oh, what a challenge. This isn't easy, folks. No, I'm not suicidal. I'm happy. Folks got to understand. When you tap into this type of level of the battlefield, it becomes bigger than oneself. So how do I shine some light on that? We all got hard days. But when you're living outside, fighting and willing to die for others, suicide isn't even an option. And we can see that with so many individuals that got that label, no longer with us, yet we accept the unacceptable, knowing they didn't do that. Well, I don't know. Let's just go to this other inspirational, because that was good and all. But now that we're good and amped up. Hello, welcome. Hope you're having a beautiful day out there. I want to touch on something. We are far too quick in getting distracted in the next thing without ever really properly addressing anything anymore. In fact, the very threat we went over yesterday, and we're going to go through more thoroughly today, goes over and admits to adding to this very effect within us. So can we pose the question, are we going to fall prey to that yet again? I don't believe we are as programmable, as dumb, with the attention spans of freaking squirrels as they play us off to be. So kind of already showed the why as to why we're getting back into this, but it's important that we get back and acknowledge this pure evil threatening Americans from Netanyahu himself. Also would like to address some things I missed and dive deeper into the terrorist himself. After all, I do believe the biggest defense we have for the very dark days ahead is spreading this light, this truth on that darkness. Let's cue up the screen share. That ain't it. What am I doing? I think I got it figured out. 1 second. I apologize. Let's not mess around. Let's hear what this man has to say. I believe this will help set the tone for the episode.
Of course, war is horrible, so why did the Palestinians initiate this war on October 7th?
Oh, did they?
Well, they didn't. They didn't. This war has been going on for 75 years. Israel initiated it in 1948 by ethnically cleansing 750,000 people.
Palestine.
This is what you need to understand. The people in Gaza, over 80% of them are refugees from a place called Majdal Asqalon in what is now southern Israel, in a city called Ashkelon. And they were dragged from their homes and driven from their homes, placed in prison camps, barbed wire prison camps, and then dumped in trucks in 1950 into the Gaza Strip, where they would be permanently warehoused. And then Israel proceeded to move Jewish refugees and Russians into Ashkelon to prevent them from ever coming back. So this didn't come out of a vacuum. This You're not going to be able to hold people under siege, cut them off from the world, and then expect them to just play along.
Very well said. And it's highlighting on something even more powerful. I mean, we're not even understanding the true history of this landmass known now as Israel, when it was formerly called, but prior to 1948, Palestine. And then for centuries and centuries before that, Ottoman Empire, Romans, so many others. There was a bleep in time biblically. It seems that, Middle East, some Israelites is in the Old Testament of a covenant was entirely fulfilled by God. I mean, my gosh, for a second, let's just step back. The devil runs, his number one tactic in my eyes is running under deception tactics. And boy, oh boy, have I myself and so many of us taken that hook, line, and sinker. So it's imperative. It's so crucial. It's important that we understand the true historical origins. And by no means this now occupation of a foreign people that to the war atrocities, my gosh, you got to look into it. I digress. Look into Ian Carroll's Creating Israel, and that will help further your path is to understanding the true depth of this deception. Let's listen to Tucker, and then we're going to go right back into, because there's so much I didn't cover, and I'm sitting here, I feel there's no worse critic than I myself, and there were so many talking points I even had queued up that I didn't go over. And there's more important angles to discuss regarding the NGOs and so many other things to prepare us, I don't know, to really absorb what he's stating himself and the actual threat on many different levels, not just the threat to our mortal lives, he stated. But I digress. We'll get into that. But let's much to come. Stay tuned, and folks, we got to get this out. So all the clips we go through in every single episode's right there in the description below. So for whatever reason, if I don't catch your fancy, just forward on these messages. We got to have people ask themselves, what is this foreign leader that we are blindly supporting threatening Americans? Why? Check this out.
Bibi's running. This is a fact. I'm not guessing about this.
Oh, no. I listen to things often, setting up a show, and obviously really fast speed, so let's get it normalized.
Bibi's running around. This is a fact. I'm not guessing about this, because I talked to people he said it to, is running around the Middle East, his region, and his own country, and telling people, point blank, just stating it, I control the United States. I control Donald Trump. He's saying that, and I dare them to say that's not true. Bibi, not the nation of Israel, not Israelis, and certainly not Jews, whatever that means. The leader, the secular prime minister of a country, is doing immense harm to Donald Trump's presidency, to the United States, and to the world. This is an unbalanced person whose only real concern is for himself. He's meddling in an extensive way in American politics. He's loathed by the entire world. He needs the United States, and yet at the same time, he has this patronizing attitude toward Donald Trump, demeaning Trump to people Trump knows. Separating from Bibi immediately, I think, is an essential next move. But objectively, that is absolutely necessary, and very soon, because he is hurting his own country, our country, and the world.
Well, Tucker, if in fact he were to do that now, which, yes, I agree he should, but if he were to do that, how many would just fall? See, we're not the divided, conquered states of Israel. We're still the United States of America running under our president, like totally negating the $20+ billion, the genocide, Mossad, Epstein, all these other connections, the true synagogue of Satan, which, by the way, I believe you can't say synagogue of Satan. I'm gonna test it. All right, let me test that on X. It automatically gets censored. So, could very well be censoring the words of God or Jesus himself. I'm going to test that. This was a shorter clip of Tucker. We're going to play this longer version later. So stay tuned. But please study this video carefully. I'm going to try to break this up into two parts this time, because he mentions two main tactics. So we'll play the first half, and then once he starts touching on, hopefully I'll remember to pause it, jump into the notes, other clips, go from there.
Christian influencers, okay? You said, you talked about the woke right, and you said, I call it the woke Reich.
This guy disgusts me.
The woke right, because these people, you know, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane, they're loonies. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going.
Wow. We almost could skip the secondly part and then play the buying up, because it all taps into the sphere of influence and everything we're talking about. I just don't want to muddy the waters too much. Let's just humor me. Let's go over some of the things he just discussed right there. Who was he speaking to? Where was he speaking? He was mostly speaking to young American conservative, Christian conservative influencers, and right here in New York on our own soil. Just the other day, the 26th, so just a couple days ago, he stated a lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs being vast. Money of governments being indicating even vaster. NGO, media, influencers, our biggest social square, folks. And then he goes into the buying and owning, controlling social medias, number one being TikTok, number two being X. So I want us to just kind of stop and ask ourselves why. Why go to those lengths amongst everything he's dealing with over there? Because the fact of the matter is he couldn't even defend what they've already started without America's financial support, our weapons, all the bombs constantly just being sent over. And it isn't biblical Israel. At this point, we really should, are they just holding the Samson option over our heads now and forcing with the threat, as soon as you stop your support, like a little girl or whatever, like a dating back to what? Go back to the playground. Well, you're going to do this. I'm just going to nuke everything. It's the most childish, like, I just can't even fathom, to be honest. But it's kind of off the point. So the why. It truly only gets explained. It's all for manipulation. It's all for deception. Let me actually pull up a couple of screenshots. So here we are.
I'm gonna have to
exit that. So right here, there's many quotes on this about controlling information and controlling people. George Orwell. I just go through all these. You can click through any of them. I mean, this is even more recent. The control of information is something the elite always does, particularly in its form of government. Information, knowledge is power. If you can control information, you can control people. And much of it talks about the masses. I mean, there's so many. Kind of just he who controls the information controls the world. If you control the information on a global scale, a world scale. I love this quote by Socrates. There is only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance. I believe evil there's spiritual ties, grasp, hooks in us, in a sense, where we'll defend ignorance. And that's coming from an evil place, like the roots of it. So the only way we get out of these very threats, is through humbling oneself and tapping into the good, tapping into knowledge. So it is for manipulation and it is for deception. Can we sit on this and acknowledge the depths evil is willing to go solely to manipulate your mind and the masses? Wouldn't they only go to these lengths if in fact it was proven effective? Let's challenge another thought, if at all. I hope this is sinking in, because we can now kind of ask ourselves, how many other beliefs through education, movies, stories have we been told where there were intentional outcomes to have this very damning, dangerous, toxic, manipulative impact to our own detriment? Example: the sheer abuse and manipulation of information during the planned scam-demic. I don't even want to walk through those examples, but how they controlled so much of the narrative and how influential it was to our detriment. Clearly, there are more things than we can even hone in at or on at this point in our lives. The only way to really set oneself free from all this deception is to not blindly entrust anything that is just force fed throughout our whole lives any longer. And in order to even speak on anything other than, hey, I don't know, I haven't done my research yet, versus doing our due diligence on any given topic, is complete, utter foolishness. So I just want to challenge us all that we must stop this great character flaw immediately. Evil is clearly preying on just this. And kind of our know-it-all syndrome, a sheer weakness we have. And it's like, there's only one way to kind of set ourselves free of that. But let's just continue with some of these clips right here, folks. This is genocide. This is terrorism. So the very man, and we're going to get into the additional methods he's willing and lengths he's willing to go to along these lines, if in fact someone here in America is unpurchasable. Just to watch these before and after. Oh God, that was loud. Apologize. Willing to go to those lengths. Just imagine the lengths they're willing to go to here. This was a point I missed yesterday and I really want to dive into. And this image just captures the Looney Tunes and the weaponization of words, how those are being utilized to our detriment. You are anti-Semitic. I'm the one that's Semitic. You are from effing Poland. Yeah, a lot to unpack there. But let's play a couple more clips and then we'll kind of have a discussion exercise on some stuff.
Truly cannot get over the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu's family name used to be Milikowski. His dad was born in Poland.
Right.
And his dad's dad was born in what is now Belarus. No wonder they don't allow DNA testing in Israel, because if it did, they'd have to send fucking prime minister all the way back to Northern Europe because they have no genetic or genealogical
And so many of Israel's inhabitants as we speak.
claim to what is occupied Palestine
Very well said. What is occupied Palestine?
at all. At all. I hope that man wears sunscreen. Truly.
Oh my gosh. I want to go into so many things right now, but we played this one yesterday. Let's go ahead and play this one because she talks. All right, let's bring some of the receipts as to this man not being a Semitic individual and highlighting the Looney Tunes. What does anti-Semite even mean? How it's being used? Is it achieving something good or more so something destructive? It's kind of easy to see past, just like, once again, the scam pandemic, medical misinformation and disinformation campaigns. Were they in fact trying to, as they projected, suppress medical misinformation to save lives? No, the only things they suppressed were the actual life-saving care. And we're falling for this weaponization of words.
This is Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. This is his son, Yair Netanyahu. Yair was supposed to be drafted into the so-called war and was supposed to join Zionist forces in the fighting. However, Yair decided to dodge the draft, where 350,000 reserve soldiers were called upon to go back to the Zionist entity and serve. Yair fled to Miami to hide out. This is Yair Netanyahu's DNA test that has been leaked. You can see right there his Y DNA is RM198. Descendants of RM198 come from Poland, Russia, Germany, and other European countries. Does this look Semitic to you? Does this look Middle Eastern? No.
I probably should have started it there, just bringing the receipt. However, it is important not to just dismiss what she shared regarding his own child. How is it these elite class will use the mass population to our detriment over wars? I mean, if they really believed in their cause, wouldn't they themselves and their children, kind of like kings of old, to earn the respect of their warriors and commanders, put themselves at the front of the line on many of these battles? What does that tell us? They're getting their kids out of this scot-free, sending them over to our country, visiting resorts, and it tells us so much. Why are we not absorbing? It's like, we got two freaking eyes. We're not using both of them. We got 2 ears. We're not using both of them. It's interesting.
Nope, it looks like a colonizer. Benjamin Netanyahu is actually Polish, his real name being Benzion Milakowski. He changed his name to Netanyahu to sound more Middle Eastern or more foreign, I don't know. Both of his parents were in fact born in Poland, and all of his family ancestry and obviously his DNA comes from Poland. Netanyahu added this bit into his Wikipedia page, which I find really funny. It says, while his family is predominantly Ashkenazi, he has said a DNA test revealed that he has some Sephardic ancestry. If you didn't know, Sephardic were the Spanish Jews that were originally from the Middle East.
So
but how
many
is
lies.
Benjamin Mikołowski claiming that he has Sephardic ancestry when his son's DNA is literally Polish?
Yeah, think on that. Really, think on it, please. To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. Mic drop. My freaking goodness. Kick off some tuners just so I don't bore you to death on some of these notes. Because it's clear it's not just the control of everything. It's so many other tactics. So on another note, They are effectively weaponizing words in the most detrimental ways, obliterating our very ability to even have conversation with one another or cover many topics. Let me rephrase this. Do we even truly understand the depths to how words are being weaponized to silence us? And worse, manipulate us. What is anti-Semitism? Ask yourself. Is it more so protecting someone under this label? Or is it more so hindering speech entirely? I don't see how it's protecting anybody. Our founding fathers understood this vast weaponization of expression of speech. How is our speech being so effectively weaponized that so many of us are willing to fall to our own detriment not to be infringed upon? So, for example, how is it anti-Semitic to even question someone's own actions or words? To dig deeper, how is it anti-Semitic when the very person you discuss is not even a Semitic person at all? Like we just went over, like they just covered, regarding the very prime minister that is running under this anti-Semitic shield, influencing, pushing this administration further than this country has ever gone. Quote, Trump signed executive orders trying to stomp out anti-Semitism in this country. Make this all make sense, please. Right there, whatever that means, that label proves the point that anyone can claim anything. And now magically, due to some made-up label, silence others to their demise. No infringing on our speech. Once again, Christ warned us. I'm gonna kill this. It's actually more so distracting to me at this point. This is serious. Don't take my words for it. Look up Jesus's words for yourself. He warned us of this very label. He warned us of this very level of oppression and much more. But if we, let me just pull it up. Right over here. Hopefully I don't entirely lose track. Jumping around a bit. But in my own words a bit, it's like individuals around us are saying that they are this thing that now you cannot talk about due to a label. And they will determine who crosses that line at any point they see fit. Literally playing God. They are the arbiters. They're putting themselves under misinformation, disinformation, anti-Semitism, racism, so many things. They're putting themselves in the seat of the arbiters of truth, playing God. So back to Jesus, he warns us that they are not the very thing they claim to be. So when they're not the thing they're claiming to be, there's no, even if that label had a foundation, they're not even fulfilling the foundational block to that label because they're not the thing they're claiming to be. Jesus warns us that they are of the synagogue of Satan. Once again, my own words, they only care about themselves. That they are willing to go to any lengths to rule over you by any means necessary, aka our oppressors. This isn't an easy tactic to fully unpack, It's very effective. Too many people even become triggered on us trying to approach it. That's why I'm trying to provide seeds from different angles a multitude of times. And as these tactics still reign effective among us, we all must jump in and not fear not. Words. Why would someone react as though I have a knife to their neck when I'm using words? Whoa, hey friend, no knives. Just here trying to free ourselves of the very manipulative tactics that have us all spooled up, fighting amongst one another versus focusing on our true oppressors. Some other angles I would like to tempt. Every attempt to silence us throughout history was not coming from a place of benevolence. It has every time used deception and sheer manipulation, causing more harm than any good. Every time, full stop. We can pull up the most recent example yet again. Medical mis and disinformation, once again, 100%, is on the wrong side of history. And that was during our time, our generation. Are we going to even absorb the lessons ourselves that are right there in front of us to absorb? Will we even acknowledge this threat from a foreign leader? And the threat goes deeper than this. We will. I guess the question becomes, will we even forward this to everyone we know, or challenge ourselves to have multiple conversations to break through as though our very lives and futures depend on it? Because they absolutely do. Let's dive back into some of these clips where we leave off. Right here, I believe. Guys, what Tucker talked about, this is nothing new. As if Israel, it's a new revelation that Israel controls the U.S. Netanyahu was saying the same things dating back to the 1980s. Give this a listen. Okay. He's speaking in what? Hebrew, so we got to pause it. We have the Senate, the Congress, and the record-strong Jewish lobby on our side. Talking about here in America. We have strong influence over the general support in America. 1980s. America won't force us into anything. Unbelievable. Verify that they weren't mincing words in that translation. This is verified. There's nothing new about it. You know what? Talking on the NGOs and this administration, all the support, billions of dollars when America's utterly falling apart. And during Charlie Kirk's memorial service, Trump talks on, he mentioned something very powerful here, but he meant it over divisive measures and not to have us really hone in on where's the money really coming from. Just listen.
Many of these people, by the way, are paid a lot of money to do this. They're agitators. They're paid agitators. Remember that? When you see they all have the same beautifully printed sign.
Right there. It brings into light, and he was deeming it the radical left, and how they're being radicalized and taking the money, pitting us against one another. But when you tie this into what Netanyahu and his tactics of manipulation NGOs. What was his quotation? Or expression? We're vast. Government's vaster. That's not to go unnoticed. So if we, the people, could more so focus on the actual infrastructure that's being utilized to radicalize and polarize differences amongst one another, they're fulfilling the greatest tactic, old tactic in the book of dividing and conquer. We were taught very young, at least in my generation, united we stand and divided we fall. They're keeping us as a fallen country. And this is unbelievable. 22 billion over. Now 23 billion in 7 months just funneled. There's blood on our hands. And this ethnic cleansing, it cannot be excused and described any other way. This just hits home. Yeah, Trump and the U.S. under Netanyahu's blackmail control, as we all know, through Mossad and Epstein, can never be trusted. Let's ask ourselves, could that in fact be why there's this support? Why this man was selected? These are more acknowledgments that he controls Trump. Pressuring our governments. I mean, how much of this, as of late, do you need to go through? To Tucker's point, it's not questionable that Netanyahu's been out there speaking as to owning America and bending America at his will. There's so much of this where he talks about it himself.
And this vilification of Israel, the Jewish people, and Western values has been propagated by a systemic alliance between the ultra-progressive left and radical Islam. It must be resolutely fought by civilized societies to safeguard their future. This is why we must all commend President Trump's decisive actions against anti-Semitism, and we must pressure other governments.
A government can do in 2 months more than any organization can do in its lifetime. And so when we talk about the importance of a bipartisan fight against anti-Semitism, which of course I endorse, and I, as my predecessor said, I condemn anti-Semitism on the right and on the left. I'm an equal opportunity condemner of anti-Semitism.
You're alluding to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, none of them are any good on the right. On the left, I don't like any of these anti-Semites, and I'm not shy.
See how they're using this label?
But
disgusting.
A government, the United States government, or the government of France, or the government of any other country, has the power to rein in anti-Semitism in a much more effective way. And you know, people say, well, you know, the governments are not in the business of changing the way people think. That's true, but, you know, to my thinking, most people who are, you know, anti-Semites, most of these people running around, we're not going to win their hearts and minds because they don't have hearts and they don't have minds. So, you know, How are we going to, there's no reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can deport them, we can put them in jail, we can make their lives miserable, we can cut off their funding, and that's what the Trump administration is doing for
don't have hearts and don't have minds. Just even questioning another, because once again, by his definition, the sheer demonic stance to formulate as though a do-gooder, right? It's very well presented. Can it be seen? Talked about hearts and minds, but he's stating that anyone even questioning, I could be labeled, just forget everything up to this point. Hey, what do you mean by throwing people in jail? You were just talking about being an upstanding gentleman, and under this label, you're going to throw that in and of itself, I'm sure by that man's standards, would fall under the anti-Semitism label, hence throwing me in jail, in prison, or beheaded, what have you, etc., etc. So let's not fall prey. Who really in this situation is controlling minds and no heart of love? It's clear. This man here has done a great work. I like when he's touching on everything here is to acknowledging the deterioration of our country. And being here, being in it, we often don't understand really what we have till we lose it, or if we stepped out and like came back, right? So a more so outsider's perspective is important. So hopefully some of this hits home.
Israel basically controls the United States now. Benjamin Netanyahu said about 3 months ago, we are now in possession of a superpower because Israel now completely controls the United States. Everything Donald Trump is doing, he's doing with Israel. And this is the largest weapon manufacturers and the biggest military on earth. So, you know, if you speak out against Israel, then the United States puts sanctions on you and, you know, all sorts of stuff. So this is kind of what's happening and where we're going. But a lot of people are waking up to this now as well. So, you know, as negative as it gets, I mean, I've often said that people will let this happen. You won't see any real pushback until it comes to people's own backyard. And now in the United States, it's coming to their own backyard. The state of America, have you been to America recently? It's like the third world. It's incredible. Philadelphia, you know, even in Manhattan, there's piles of garbage everywhere. And LA, like burnt out half of LA the other. You go to San Diego, the whole center of town smells like urine. It's incredible. Homeless people all over the place. And it's like the third world. You know, everyone, you know, America is presented as this fantastic thing on TV, but when you go there and see what it's become over the last 20 years, if you go there a lot, like I go there quite a bit, and over the last 20 years, I've seen it deteriorate to the point that, you know, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. A lot of the people within the United States simply can't see it because they're there in amongst it, you know.
Good point.
But it's shocking. And I've often said the only way you're going to bring down America, you can't wage a war against America because everyone's armed. You can't invade the place. If it's going to be destroyed, it's got to be destroyed from within, which is what is happening. All of the dual Israeli citizens in government. There's a new organization formed called AZAPAC, which is it's like AIPAC, only it's the anti-Zionists.
I can't wait to dive into that group more because that could futuristically be one of the great solutions politically moving forward, because they're going to vet out in the most simple senses. Like, do you have any foreign allegiances or citizenship? Like, there's so much criteria that we must. No, you got to be American, solely American, to hold a power position in this country. You can't be influenced through foreign lobby groups. So anyway, they're trying to match the funds that AIPAC through Israel has successfully bought out basically our whole Senate and our whole Congress effectively. So we need proper vetted, funded groups such as that. I just want to personally go through it and see that they wouldn't be a corrupted entity or lobbying group themselves. Anyway, great solutions coming down the pipe futuristically, given we even have that opportunity. I believe this very administration, there's going to be incredibly dark days. I believe the bankers themselves are going to need to reset their fake fiat currency and to really control that, rolling us into a more centralized, digitalized one. I believe they need to provoke a mass world war or something along those lines to really keep the spotlight off of them. More on that futuristically, but let's wrap this one up.
Committee. So that's all formed in the United States. And a lot of pushback. There's a lot of pushback happening, and that might be the way out. I mean, through public awareness. I mean, once it gets so bad that you can't help but see it, and you realize that all of this has been legislated to happen, You know, the only thing that stops the people pushing back and making the United States great again is the government and the police. So perhaps we need to address that, you know, and it's the same in every country. So, you know, for all of the negative stuff that's going on, and, you know, you get to the point where you think, well, you know, we're almost past the point of no return. Mm-hmm. I still see it as a positive because you can't not see it now. And I think we are going to see some major pushback. It's going to get a lot uglier yet, but I think through it, I think we're going to head to some freedom after this.
Oh, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. Irregardless of the outcome, we must just seize the moment and do what we can. So through NGOs, through these institutions, through these type of bot farms, obviously this is how they also try to manipulate us in the worst possible ways. Getting folks to even self-censor. Just tired groups. Think you're talking to real people, being influenced by real people. I believe this is small scale, very small scale operation, but it is incredible. Let's get through the rest of this content and wrap things up. I mean, you got lots to do after all, right?
He did have that letter right on his fingertips.
Oh, gosh. Here we go.
He did have that letter right on his fingertips to wave around, almost like a prop. And that seemed so reductive to me.
Netanyahu in regard to Charlie Kirk's assassination.
All that Charlie had contributed to life, to his family, to faith, to the movement. And here Netanyahu was trying to reduce Charlie Kirk to this one letter that seemed a bit inconsistent with this broader move that Charlie was a part of to ask questions, not be anti-Israel certainly, but to ask questions of the Netanyahu government when they were doing things that were really unpopular, like ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Where do we go from here, Max? I mean, one of the things that was kind of interesting to me as I read your piece, I'm thinking, like, what did these guys think if they just got Charlie Kirk and 12 influencers to, like, wear yarmulkes and wrap themselves in the Israeli flag, that the millions of Americans who were asking reasonable questions were all of a sudden going to, like, fall in line behind them? Like, to me, it seems as though despite the best efforts of Netanyahu, despite the best efforts of his puppets who are in the United States and who have resources to make contributions and hold them over the heads of organizations, like, there's nothing stopping the fact that young people in this country, right and left, are asking questions about the U.S.-Israel relationship and how it benefits them. Like, do you think that a bunch of people under the age of 30 are going to turn 40 or 50 and be like, you know what, I was wrong. Actually, we should fund...
You know, the link's below. It's powerful. I feel there's more pressing issues. Once again, considering Netanyahu and his direct threat to us. This is the more lengthy, and Tucker, I mean, it's only a minute 49, but he brings far greater points to mind. So let's give this a listen.
Bibi's running around. This is a fact. I'm not guessing about this because I talked to people he said it to. Is running around the Middle East, his region, and his own country, and telling people point blank, just stating it, I control the United States. I control Donald Trump. He's saying that. And again, I'm not guessing at all. That's a fact. And I dare them to say that's not true because it is true and they know it's true. So I'm an American. How do you think it makes me feel? Even if I didn't vote for Trump, which I did vote, I campaigned for Trump, but even if it was Joe Biden, I'm an American. You can't it's too humiliating. I can't handle that. And I shouldn't have to put up with that. This is a country of 9 million people. I'm not even attacking the country. I'm attacking my leaders who are allowing my nation of 350 million people to be forced into doing things that are bad for me and my children because of some other country. Like, that is a violation of the most basic arrangement we have with our leaders, which is represent us, please, at least most of the time, and they're not. And there's an ongoing humiliation ritual designed to make us all crazy, designed to turn us into haters. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of becoming what they call me. I'm not a hater, and I'm never going to become one. But I will never accept this. I shouldn't have to accept it. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I have no unexpressed views. I'm not hiding anything. I say exactly what I think all the time. This is wrong. And if it's not wrong, tell me how it's not wrong. Why don't you stop attacking me and trying to get family members fired, which they never stop doing? Why don't you instead tell me how you disagree with me? But they can't, because they don't actually have an argument. There's no way to justify controlling the U.S. government for the purposes of another country's, whatever their plan is, expansion. There's no way to justify that. And so they just scream at you and call you names. And I guess I'm just blessed because I don't believe that about myself. So that doesn't hurt me.
Good. What a great example.
BB's.
That is beautiful. Thank you, Tucker. Once again, let's wrap up what Netanyahu says himself. And course number 2, at the point, our influencers right here in America, Americans, civilians, are unpurchasable, the lengths he's then willing to go to.
Is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money.
Okay, we went
Money
through
of
this.
NGOs,
Let's hear it again.
Vast. Money of governments, vaster.
Shocking.
Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community. They're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well, okay? And you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential.
Sorry.
And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. Exactly. Very good. And, you know, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him.
There's so much there. So much there, folks. It's truly unbelievable and entirely gut-wrenching when we really research this and study this video and his, not even expressions, specifically what he talked about. Quote, "We have to fight back," is what he said. Through our influencers, he also said, "We are going to have to use the tools of battle." Quote, "That weapons change over time." Quote, "You cannot fight with swords or cavalry. That doesn't work very well in today's day and age," he's referencing. Quote, "We have things like drones, things like that." End quote. Also, quote, "I won't get into it further than what he painted. So let's go over what he just painted." He was not talking about drones to videotape you. He just used the example of swords and cavalry. This says one thing. He is talking about blood, your blood, my blood, American blood. He is talking about ending lives, known as murder. And the fact that most of our influencers are civilians, he is openly admitting to terrorist attacks and activity. I'm not mincing words here. This is directly what he stated himself, laying out his course of action. And it makes sense why he's so focused on this country and the influence of this country, because he's losing a lot of vast support to the genocide and land grab on behalf of the bankers. That is not biblical at all. That the bankers established this land, renamed this land in 1948 for none other to deceive many Christians in this country to believing as though it is chosen people and it is biblical Israel, when they are the foreigners themselves. There's nothing anti-Semitic about any of this. Now, there are true Semites and rabbis speaking about this Zionist control, but the fact of the matter is, there aren't more people falling prey to these narratives than the Jews themselves, or the ones falling under the Zionist Christian infiltration in this country. I believe Charlie fell prey to that for a good portion of his existence here, but his heart was so pure and his mission was so strong that he didn't pay much mind to the truths. But when it really came down to it, and he just was like, okay, enough, what's happening over here? And he questions October 7th because he's visited. He questions the Epstein, and the reaction just now naturally triggers him to like, wow, really opening his eyes. There was who benefits more now from his death? Come on. It is clear as day. And with the evidence, the new video footage we went over yesterday, I don't believe that was a bullet at all. On that, with all this motion in a shirt, boom, over here and over here, the actual smoke breaching the collar says that lapel mic was an explosive. And I'm telling you, I would love nothing more than the FBI to, let's say, share those turning point angles, 4K at minimum, 5 feet away, multiple cameras that recorded the event to back up their claims. And if it backed up their claims, wow, guys, I'll eat some humble pie. But the only reason they wouldn't release that is because it's supporting criminal activity and false narrative. Their lie. They would happily expose that information to fulfill and give us the evidence, bringing in the trust, if only it supported their narrative. So anyway, where was I? It is clear who controls our country. We are no longer the United States of America. We are the divided, conquered, controlled, occupied states of Israel. Will our elected representatives start for the first time in decades fulfilling the most basic of their duties and represent its people? Will they take the most basic action to protect its people? I believe as an occupied country, we already have the answers to those questions. And for those of us that aren't willing to lie to themselves, it is crystal clear, and this question shifts. So let's do a final screen share. Oh, come on. I don't know what happened. Disappeared. Here we go. Right here in the Declaration of Independence, I believe the question now shifts into, will we as a people, knowing what we know, fulfill the most basic of our duties and our rights to abolish the very oppressive, tyrannical, occupied government serving a foreign country above its own, as stated right here in the Declaration of Independence, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute a new government laying its foundation on such principles. It even uses stronger verbiage down here. It is our right, yet again, it is our duty to throw off such a government and provide new guards for our future's security. Will we fulfill the most basic of our duty? Please, my friends, my dear brothers and sisters, time is of the essence. And we must get this information out to the masses. Help forward this message along. Once again, as though our lives depend on it, because it does. God bless you. And until next time, take care.